We always thought alien life would come from the stars. But it came from deep beneath the Pacific.
What the hell is going on?
The first kaiju made land in San Francisco. The second attack hit Manila. And then the third one hit Cabo. And then we learned this was not gonna stop. In order to fight monsters, we created monsters of our own.
Let's get ready to rumble! In this corner, we got a big-ass giant monster. And in this corner, we got a big-ass giant robot. And they get together and they fight, and that's all you need to know about this movie.
That's it.
That's it.
Better than sex.
That is it.
Do you need to know anything else? Giant fucking Godzilla-sized monsters of all types coming out against dudes that would make the Transformers wet their pants.
Fighting
Giant
Power
robots.
Rangers and all
Tearing
kinds
up
of craziness.
shit. Where even Superman's looking at us like, dude, even I didn't do that much.
I know.
God damn.
I don't know. I think they're about neck and neck. I was watching with my calculator going.
Super.
It's about $3 trillion on both of them.
Oh, yeah. No, they tear the hell up out of not one city, not two, but I don't think there's a city left in the world that's standing after these
I will
robots
say,
are done.
At least with Pacific Rim, there's some acknowledgement like, okay, this is kind of fucking up the world and our economy is going down.
It is.
With Superman, it was like, oh, we built the Daily Planet the next day.
In the
Clark
background,
Kent went to work.
actually, in the background, I saw Superman fighting Zod. They were like, wait a minute, we want a piece of this right here.
I like the fact that the robots and monsters went to Mexico and couldn't find anything to destroy. So it's like, well, I guess we can't fight here. Let's reschedule.
But it was more like, well, let's destroy Hong Kong. It's a lot prettier.
Yeah, I can actually see who I'm punching.
Yeah, monsters are looking at that, man. Shit, I told we should have gone to Hong Kong. You right.
Grumbling to each other, walking back into the water. What the fuck? It's not even any infrastructure. This is pointless.
I'm sorry. I heard from a guy it was a great place. You should admit it. You
To
got
get
lost,
fucked up
didn't
and
you?
tear
He's like,
shit up.
hey, man, I got us some roofies, though. All right.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they have. Hollywood has torn the hell out of the world in these movies, man.
I feel sorry for every skyscraper ever.
Yeah, don't be a national monument.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck. And you're right, man. This is something. Now, if you're looking at it totally from just a giant robot versus monsters blowing up shit kind of movie, I think it works. I mean, even they got the monsters in this alone put a lot of things that we've seen to shame. I remember when Roland Emmerich was so proud of Godzilla. Look at this. We got a monster that's taller than the Empire State or whatever. And Guillermo del Toro said, well, I got about 50 of them, bitch. Even Optimus Prime would even look at this like, oh, hell no, I don't want none of this.
I can't handle that shit.
No, you got it, man.
Call the X-Men or some shit. I don't know. I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'm going to go get a paint job. Like, you guys have
I'm
fun
gonna
duking it out.
transform into a small mouse and go into this cave.
I think that's what the story is all about. When the Transformers were too pussy to fight these monsters, we created things called Jaegers. No, actually, in this movie, we have aliens that have finally come to planet Earth, but they didn't come from outer space. They open up portals in the ocean, in the Pacific, hence the name Pacific Rim. And they rise up, and they don't come here to really talk. They don't come here to really even, if they say they come here to conquer, but they don't really do that. They just come here to tear up shit.
Just every once in a while.
They don't
around
even
the
come
holidays.
over. They send their giant monster pets over.
Yeah,
That's right.
It's not so much tearing up shit, but so much as terraforming shit.
Yeah.
Just doing it with a big ass monster. Get this shit off my land. I'm moving in.
They can't send in a giant bulldozer, so they send in their dogs.
You can call it terraforming or whatever it is you want to call it. It's just people are coming here and tearing shit up.
Not
and
people.
Yeah,
People we
sorry.
could deal with.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. The creatures that come up here tearing shit up, and the people are like, well, fuck, man. There's nothing we can do here. We tried to fight them with planes. We tried to fight them with tanks. I mean, outside of shooting a nuclear missile, I don't know what else we can do. Oh, wait a minute. We can build giant robots.
Sure, why not?
Yeah,
We could do that.
Yeah, for the first meeting when the guy said, I know we can build giant robots. Go pick up your check.
They laughed at Michael Bay when he first came into the meeting room. They laughed. They're not laughing now.
Boy, shut up.
I would have loved to have been in those contract meetings going, we got to build a what?
Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, about 3 attacks later. Hey, is he still around? Man, he got killed last week with one of those. God damn it. Call Michael Bay there. We don't care. But yeah, now the thing about this movie is that I think we all agree that the giant monster and robot effects, they're They're awesome.
They're
They
spectacular.
are. They really are. I mean, I was a little bugged. There were plenty of times where I couldn't make out what was going on, but it wasn't as bad as Transformers. But yeah, they are amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say this. If you have a,
wait, is that you think I'm an idiot or you agree?
I agree.
Okay.
that you're an idiot.
But I'm a little bit more on the other side. But
Okay.
as far as we'll get into that later.
Okay. Well,
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
I'm on the other side of the fence. Where you guys thought that fights were pretty cool, I think otherwise.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
But Cyrus, what you think?
I think that what they tried to do here was take what ideally they were going for, like that kid-like mentality of giant monsters versus giant robots, the classic kaiju movie,
Yeah.
Try and do that and try and make the ultimate one. Here's destroy all monsters versus Ultraman. Here's everything we always loved from those films, but not as like, taking, oh, look, there's a Godzilla looking guy. It's not that. It's like not referencing. It's like a brand new version of that, throwing as much stuff and effects at it as you possibly can and saying, you know what? The last thing we need is a super complicated story. Let's just keep this really simple and really direct and just give people what they want. And on that level, for people who that's what they're looking for, I think this succeeds incredibly well.
It's the closest thing I'll ever get to Evangelion film that I've always, in the back of my head wanted to see.
Which is an anime.
Yeah, it's an anime, and I know there's an online debate right now with a lot of people screaming that this movie stole a lot of stuff from Evangelion, but I know, and I don't even want to even get into that debate, but I'll just say this, that it borrowed some things, but it is Guillermo del Toro's own thing. He really puts his own signature on it. So anybody worried about that, stop worrying about it, get over it, because what this guy is really trying to do is he's trying to introduce this entire huge world that a lot of us are familiar, at least people who watch that kind of stuff, anime, the kaiju films, the Godzilla films, he's really trying to introduce that to a bigger audience. In order for you to get more movies like this, in order for Hollywood to go, yeah, why not? Let's make some Godzilla movies again, and I think he succeeds on that level as far as catering to the general public with a story like this.
Now, see, we're saying where this succeeds, where it falls.
Can I just say, like, everybody has talked about how it succeeds, but everybody's been hedging the way they talk.
But
on this level, it succeeds.
That's what I'm about to say.
Well, if you want this, it's there. But where's that other shoe?
See, the weird thing is, like, I think that the criticisms you're about to bring up aren't even really criticisms of anything the movie does wrong. It's just, it could have had more story.
How do you know?
Yeah, I know. You're presuming a lot.
Because I've read a lot and heard a lot of the criticisms that are out there about this, and I understand what they're saying. These things like, where's the character depth? Where's the more complex backstory? I'm like, why does this movie need those things?
Fanboy.
I know. And I wasn't going to say that at all. I was just going to say, I was going to say that the characters were kind of weak.
I didn't have much.
I could have used more depth.
Yeah. What do you call that thing? Depth?
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about, this depth right here. I don't know nothing about that.
I see. Okay.
But no, the characters in here are just kind of weak. Kind of one-dimensional. I mean, and when you look, these characters right here, you talk about
the only monster missing in this thing is a thesaurus, and I think we just found it.
No. Listen, you talk about being an anime. That's exactly what these is. These characters are. They're cartoons. You have if you want more of the story, you have this guy named Charlie.
They're the Top Guns.
They're like, hey, bro, let's go fight some monsters, you know. And so they're both Jaeger pilots, by the way. Him and his brother. His brother played by Diego Klattenhoff. When you pilot these Jaegers, you can't use both hemispheres of your brain. It causes you.
That's true. When you're piloting Jaeger, you are definitely not using both hemispheres of your brain.
When you're piloting Jaeger, you don't use either hemisphere of your brain. All right? Their shit is gone. But in this movie, two pilots have to work together. One has to use the right hemisphere of their brain. The other has to use the left. And I like how I'm pointing in opposite directions when I say this. But so him and his brother, they can mind meld or whatever together perfectly. His brother dies, and he decides, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go and build a wall in this new government program to keep monsters out because they're getting rid of the Jaeger program.
Oh, I thought they were keeping Mexicans out.
They already had it for the Mexicans.
Yeah.
They just figure like, well, Mexicans Mexicans, giant monsters. You can repurpose these things.
It's kind of the same thing. Except Mexicans are bigger monsters.
Well, all those Mexicans on the other side of the wall say, I don't suppose you guys can help us build this a little bit higher.
Yeah, I know. It's the perfect solution. They were already there at the wall. They were just saying, hey, guys, you want to help us build it?
By the way, Coach, did you know that they're building giant robots to keep Mexicans out right now?
No, I did
the wall didn't work, so we had to build giant robots.
I was wondering why they're calling me.
But so he's working on this wall, and Idris Elba, who is he's the lead soldier,
the general, the colonel,
General Badass.
Yeah, he's so badass that his name is Stacker Pentecost. And he goes to get Yancey out. He said, "Man, Yancey, you're one of the best guys I had. You got to come back. Forget this wall. You're looking dirty and shit. Come on back and do what's cool. We'll get you laid and all that kind of stuff." He said,
"Get some food in your belly."
Yeah, get some food in your belly, and to sweeten the deal, I'm gonna throw in this nice little Asian chick right here named Mako. Is it Mako? Mako. But played by Ranko. What am I trying to say his name? Kukichi, Kukuchi, whatever.
Ranko Kuchi.
Sure.
Payway.
Turns out that these two can mind meld together perfectly. Blah blah blah. Whatever. When they come on the screen, there's really nothing for them to do except when you gonna get your ass in that robot and go out and fight a monster.
Exactly.
That's it.
Well, no. Up until they get in there, there's plenty of really terrible dialogue and just dry, cliche telegraph storylines for them to run through, and some backstories. It's so trite. You're like, I'm pretty sure I saw this on Speed Racer when I was 8 years old.
That's the interesting thing is that I know a lot of people have been defending. Well, this is what they intentionally made. Because this is a callback to like those old, mecha anime, stories from the 80s or whatever they're throwing out there. But I'm like, no, this is just bad drama. This is really bad drama. And you're right, almost to the point of bad Speed Racer type dialogue. And I'm like, honestly, with Guillermo del Toro, I expect the bar to be, a little bit higher.
That's so funny you say that, because to me, I watch it and I'm like, this has so many of the del Toro marks that I'm used to. It's like, yeah, the effects look great, and but it's got such a fanboy vibe. Most of his movies, except for his Spanish movies, the dialogue's never strong. That's usually weak. Ron Perlman is shoved in there somewhere, and there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of cartoonish and almost like it's like you had two guys who were reliving being 10 years old, who would just be sitting there elbowing each other going, huh? Yeah, I know, right?
Mm-hmm. And I see what you're saying. But then that's kind of the unfortunate part, because, when you're trying to get audiences into a genre like this, I mean, you really want to highlight the main good points about why we all love it. The great storytelling that could be told in a universe like this, because, I mean, he's trying to create a new mythology with this story. Yet, I was really disappointed at the very beginning of the movie that we get a lot of information that this whole kaiju war has been going on for a long time. I felt cheated. I kind of felt like, wow, I feel like I'm getting thrusted into the last chapter of what could have been a really interesting trilogy as far as this whole story
I felt
goes.
like that too, like being like, all right, this thing is here. Now let's you just narrate the whole history to put you where it is now. I was like, well, gosh, all that, I kind of wanted to see that. Plus, usually that's the point when, with a first movie, it's where you're selling it to the general public. Like we'll like an origin story of a superhero, because it's like, okay, this is where I'm going to make this story to where anybody who never read this can come in, understand it, and buy it. And I wanted that with this, and it was just like, well, look, man, you've seen enough of these. Come on, we're going to get you to this point. Now it's go.
Let's get to the fights.
Wow, I couldn't disagree more. I love the fact that they throw you right there. It gives the feeling that it is a bigger universe immediately. It's not just, okay, now how long are we going to wait for the thing that we know is coming anyway because we've seen the fucking trailer for the movie? It's like, no, here's the giant monsters right off the bat. You know there's fucking giant monsters in this movie. You really make us spend 20 minutes with the guys going, hey, what was that sound?
Yeah. See, I agree with you, man.
I like it much better though with them doing this. And as far as the dialogue, telegraphed, I'll give you that 100%. There's nothing in this movie that you can't see coming from 1,000 miles away. But I didn't think it was terribly trite or horribly written dialogue. Simplistic, sure. Like not as good, not as, funny as they think it is, sure. But I didn't think it was horrible. I think it's a really, really exaggeration as to the bad quality of the writing. I think it's acceptable writing, but all that doesn't really matter when you've got like a pretty non-stop series of giant monster fights that look fucking fantastic and really make you feel it. Probably didn't hurt. I was sitting in a D-box seat. To be fair.
That D-box rattled your brain a little bit. You know how you're not supposed to shake a baby.
Did your D-box seat work?
Oh, it worked.
They all worked, yeah.
I'm surprised you were able to walk. I'm surprised that your insides are not
because we went down
to,
on the floor and when our seats were shaking.
Yeah, I'm surprised that your insides are not turned to jelly right now because I had D-box. And I wasn't even in a D-box seat.
I was right behind them and my balls were shaking. I'm like, I don't like this. Yeah.
Man, you know what? I see, because I see the good qualities in this. Like, I'm right there with everybody right now because I don't think that there was anything to this movie except giant robots and monsters. But when they deliver on that, it's incredible. But the characters are so flat. They even have one that, when I say they're a cartoon. They have two scientists in the movie. Charlie Day plays one, and Charlie Day, he probably has some of the more better dialogue in the movie because he's the comic relief, and he talks very fast. And when Charlie Day delivers a line, even if it's bad, he delivers it so fast that he makes it funny.
I need to access a kaiju brain. Completely intact.
No. The skull plate is so dense that by the time you drill into it...
The brain's rotted away, but I'm talking about the secondary brain. Now, we both know that the kaiju are so large they need two brains to move around like a dinosaur. I want to get my hands on that.
What the hell do you want a secondary brain for anyway? I mean, every part of the kaiju cells. Cartilage, spleen, liver, even the crap. But the brain, too much ammonia. So what's the deal, little fella?
Well, that's classified. So I couldn't tell you, even if I wanted to. But it is pretty cool.
But this other actor, Bern Gorman, he walks in. Now, he's the classic, when I say classic, I mean cliche, befuddled British guy. He comes in walking on a cane, and he's like, I say, what are you doing there, you good man? And then that's one point where he even rolls an R like a British cliche. He calls Charlie Day a kaiju groupie, but he doesn't say groupie. He says, oh, forgive him. He's a kaiju groupie. I was like, man, did you really do that?
Who wrote that? Hanna-Barbera?
I love that. The whole movie is a cartoon. Why wouldn't the scientists be the classic cartoon scientist equivalent where one is the cartoon geek who's super excited about everything and the other's the cartoon nerd who takes everything way too seriously and obviously
because it's bad.
And I'll give you that though. I liked it because you know what? Those were characters. As far as the rest of the cast, I was like, wow, why are they playing this so dry, so serious? And it doesn't help that the main actor that they got, I was like, is this the same guy from Tron, the guy that was just sucking all the charisma off the screen whenever he was on it? Because I was like, wow, number one, this guy it seems like he's reading off cue cards the whole time. Plus, does he have to say his dialogue like he's narrating, like he's still narrating the trailer? I mean, every time that guy talked, it sounded like he was narrating the trailer.
Now, was that Charlie Hunnam?
That's Charlie Hunnam.
Because I was like, is this him? Because I know on Sons of Anarchy he's considered to be good, but watch him in this, I was like, wow, he's sucking like he's in a George Lucas movie.
I feel like we didn't even see the same goddamn movie. I'm serious. I feel like y'all went to see a totally different
The one I
film.
saw was an overly long movie with robots and giant monsters. And I mean, honestly, look, I see the appeal of this movie, and I would even give it a high rating knowing it delivers on what it promised. I won't take that away from it at all. But it's too goddamn long.
Yeah, it is too long.
At 2.5 hours by the time it was done, I just felt exhausted.
But if we can still stay on the characters here, I mean, because I think there's a lot of problems with that, especially the Asian girl playing Mako. Yeah, where I thought she was written to where I was scratching my head the whole movie wondering, is this girl supposed to be like a teenager? Because there are scenes where obviously, you know, her and Idris Elba have did I say his name right? Idris Elba. They have a obviously father-daughter relationship. But there's times when like her character like really wants to jump in one of these Jaeger robots. But the whole time when she's told she can't, she looks at Idris Elba with like these little girl eyes. Dad, how come you're not letting me ride these robots? Come on, I've been training for this my whole life. What's going on?
I'm the only Japanese person on this whole ship. You won't let me in the giant robot?
Exactly. I was born for this shit. I was born for it.
That's in my genes.
Why, Daddy? Why? And she just had this attitude. I'm like, wow, she seems like she's supposed to be a 14-year-old 20-year-old girl, yet they casted like a late 20-something chick, and it just was
she does have
scratching my head.
There are 5 times in this movie where she looks up at Idris Elba like, Papa,
yeah,
can I get the giant robot?
No.
I'm Asian. I'll be kicking ass all over the place. Just give me the chance.
I agree. They totally overplayed that element of it. It's like, come on, man. She's supposed to be, on one hand, she's supposed to be super competent and like a total badass, and the other, like, every time she gets told no, she has a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
Oh, and the two Aussie rivals were killing me with the hothead son. Oh, you bloody Yank.
Yeah.
I'll show you what to do. You're a superstar like me. And his dad, cut it out, son. Stop it. Stop it right now.
But once again, I thought those guys were better than the two leads because something's going on there.
You know what? I did it first, but I'm like, they're repeating the same dialogue over and over in every scene.
Yeah. You know, one of those guys, I think his name is Max Martini.
Oh,
That's
Max
his
Martini? Really?
The father?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
That's his name, Max Martini. He should be like a super spy or something. Yeah.
But, I mean, if you guys want to get into the robot monster fights, I would love to get into that with you guys right now.
Well, okay.
Oh, okay.
I will say this. I thought that the way they pulled them off and the scale, like I keep mentioning the scale, but that was amazing. They certainly nailed that. With the fights, not always easy to see what was going on. I wasn't happy with that, but maybe it's the bulb. Maybe when it comes out on Blu-ray, it'll be crystal clear. The thing I didn't like was how the robots getting their asses handed to them, and they go like, well, shit, we about to lose. I guess we might as well let's try the sword. Let's just see what that does. That's the best weapon they got. And I was just like, why don't you fucking lead with that?
That was the funny
Thank
thing
you.
to me. That's the first thing I thought too. It's like, so you were just going to grapple this whole time when you had blade
Thank you.
technology?
That's
you had
exactly
a gun
what
that takes 30 seconds to heat up before you can.
I was thinking, all this time y'all been building giant robots. Maybe y'all should have built a giant gun. You know, that'll take care of that real quick.
Well, the funny thing is, Evangelion did that. So I was like, yeah, maybe. Hey, why don't you rip off that too? It would have made a lot more sense than waiting to put out your best weapon almost towards the end of the movie. But I mean, when the fight scenes had started, I was really geared up for that. That's why I'm here. That's why if I pay full price for it, that's the reason. But I was so damn frustrated and disappointed at the fact that I couldn't see what the fuck was going on, because I'm sorry, people who shoot fight scenes, especially you CG guys who are working on all this shit, there's a reason why when you watch a boxing match, an MMA fight, there's a reason why cameras are way in the back to get all the action so you can fucking see it. I had a problem with trying to make out who was who, what was going on, because not only do I have to deal with the fact that the camera is like right in the action, I mean in it, but it's raining. The ocean water is
right.
Like plunging towards the screen.
It's funny.
I can't see a goddamn thing.
It's raining in the dark while they fight in the ocean.
In the fucking dark.
Is it just coincidence that the kaiju attack every time there's a thunderstorm and it's nighttime?
Right. It's nighttime.
Yeah,
I'm
every
like,
time.
Yeah.
Well, the kaiju, they're shy. They don't like to be lit the wrong way.
Well, they're lit everywhere, all over their bodies. They keep shooting out glowy crap all over the place.
Well, you know what? I agree with you. I agree and disagree. I mean, well, I don't even know if I disagree, because I think I see what you're saying, because I think early on I thought the fights were pretty amazing, because I did, man, those, you gotta admit, when they were punching the hell out those monsters, man, those punches hit hard, and you did see the impact of those.
Because I had Cyrus's D chair fucking reminding me how hard they were punching. I was falling out of my seat.
Well, there were certainly moments that you were like, God, come on, man. Fucking, like, what are you doing? You're way too close. We couldn't tell what just happened there at all. And we should have. Immediately would show you something that you could tell what was happening.
But I thought
amazing. So I thought, and there's so much of it, you're like, okay, you're at about 75% awesome to these fights. And that's a big awesome.
Well, yeah, I think most of the fights worked. It's when they got progressively busier, because you had more Jaegers coming out and fighting more monsters, and that's when it all kind of became a jumble. And then don't let them go underwater.
No,
if they go underwater, you ain't gonna see shit.
You're not gonna see anything. I mean, I will give you this: two of the main fight scenes that I honestly really loved. There was a scene where they were showing one of the Jaegers fight one of the kaiju in Australia, where it was shot during the day.
Yeah.
You can see this. You can see where they're at. You can see the geography of the place. And I was like, wow, this is amazing looking. And the fight in Hong Kong, where that's definitely pulled out of an anime,
Right.
where you're like, man, okay, they are delivering because, you know, they got plenty of lights to reflect what's going on, and you can finally see the detail of the creatures. Because another problem I had with these kaiju creatures was that they all started to look alike. They all started to look like generic Star Wars monsters because the camera never really let them like really be a presence on the screen. They were too busy, you know, fighting so much that you couldn't make out what the head looked like, what the, you know, just the movements, like, and it offered no kind of characteristics to these creatures that you really wanted to see, you know?
Yeah, they went through all the trouble of making all these different varieties of these creatures, and you were hardly able to get a full body shot. And when you did, it was dark.
Yeah.
You couldn't see anything. But it didn't bother me that much. I mean, I thought the fight scenes were beautiful, especially, and they were creative. I mean, Superman and Zod, they're just pushing each other in the walls and tearing up stuff. I mean, here, you got Jaegers picking up boats, you know, using them as baseball bats.
Superman, they picked up a train. That was pretty cool. Come on.
I'm sorry, the boat was much cooler.
Yeah, the boat's cool.
No, the boat was cool. I mean, no, I'm saying the boat was cool.
I was hanging at first.
No. I was kind of in shock. Like, come on, man, you got to give it up here.
No, the boat was cool, but I liked it when I saw it in Evangelion. But you know,
Come on, don't do that. Although the thing I was curious about is like, you know, the Jaeger pilots, they taught them how to fight man to man. I was like, but you're fighting creatures that are more like animals. Like, you know, you should be hiring like Siegfried and Roy to get in these suits and fight these guys.
And not to mention, you're in a contraption, you stuck. Call me childish, but what if you get a second case of diarrhea and got to take a shit?
That's childish.
I'm sure they built some kind of.
I'm pretty sure you're going to take that shit the minute you see a kaiju up
I
close.
would love to see that Jaeger just bend over and just start shitting oil in the water.
I think that they hose out those things pretty well. After
I know the kaiju just looking at taking the shit like, man, I don't even know what to do anymore.
Yeah, like even when we're watching them train fighting, it's kind of samurai style. It's like using sticks. It makes you wonder again with the sword. You're like, why didn't you do? You know, these guys can move as fast as people. If you just came to this dude and was like, did some samurai shit, cut him in half, end of story.
Well, especially when you see just how effective the sword is, you're like, I don't understand why it took this long.
Yeah, why aren't all the robots? Why don't they all have fucking swords?
When they finally use it, they're like, I guess we gotta use this sword.
Swords? Why are we even talking about swords? Can I go back and say, why did we not have a gun?
Hey, man.
They did have a gun.
It
just took like a minute to heat up.
Exactly.
Glowing and
we are a gun-loving country. Why don't we give them like 2 large revolvers, a 9mm?
Well, that's been my argument with you know, giant mech suits from the beginning. It's like all that to have a you know, all the resources you got to put into having a robot that can move and read brain waves and 2 people and they got to link up. Just get a goddamn put all that into a wave motion gun that you just wheel out to the edge of the beach and shoot the fucking thing.
Better yet, just send the robot out. I mean, all this fighting and shit that ain't necessary. Just have a kaiju down on his knees and you got a gun to the back of his head. They say, you gone, motherfucker.
And clearly these Jaeger pilots don't understand double tap. I'm like, just because it's down, you don't walk away going, well, I guess that's taken care of.
What I find ironic is how the Americans are the ones who have the swords, yet when it comes to the Japanese, they forget to put that shit in their backpack or whatever. I'm like, really? It's like the Japanese couldn't come up with something that cool? I mean, but I don't know, man. You know, it's the complaints I had about the creatures, I had the same complaints with the Jaegers. The Jaegers, I wanted to see more. I mean, the only time you're going to get any kind of like, you know, just visual as far as how cool those Jaeger things are is by looking at all the promo stuff. Because when you see it in the movie, it's so quick. The shots are so quick that you really don't get a chance to really soak it in when these things are fighting. That's why, I mean, I love fucking Godzilla movies. And the fact is like, wow, maybe they should have watched more Godzilla films to really see how impactful those are when those creatures fight. I mean, it is like a beautiful dance when they film a lot of those Godzilla films. And it's for a reason, you know, because they know how amazing these huge creatures are fighting, you know, and sometimes I thought the movie missed the mark with this because it was shot so frantically, so quick, that if you blink, you're going to miss a lot of shit going on.
Yeah, I guess. You know what? I mean, look, for all the complaints that I have about it, what does it boil down to? Does it work on the level that it really wanted to work? It's a live action anime. If you don't like anime, or if you don't like monster movies with shallow plots, that's not a complaint. I'm just saying the way it is.
I don't disagree. It's a shallow plot.
Yeah, and then this is not going to be your thing. If you love seeing action and cool fight scenes, especially between robots and monsters, this is your thing. And keep in mind when I say anime, I am saying it is an anime through and through. These characters are cartoonish. These scenes are are amazingly exaggerated and cartoonish themselves. They look amazing, but they're cartoonish. None of this makes sense. If people are living, if these monsters keep popping up on coastlines, why are people still living on the coast? I don't get it.
That was the thing. Like, why doesn't everybody just move inland?
I'm talking about beachfront property should just not be. That should have no value at all at this point. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense here. The movie boils down to it just looks cool. And as far as all the summer movies I've seen, this is probably, as far as looking cool, this is the coolest. I'd recommend go see it. It has a lot of problems, but it's fun. It's a matinee.
I'm right there with you for the most part. It's Del Toro doing what he does, and he makes movies that 14-year-olds love. Or if you remember back to being 14, it's everything that you wanted. And I often go in these things thinking like, yeah, I'm on board with that. But I go, you know what? There's a certain amount of time when I'm here where I'm like, that's not going to completely do it for me. I do want more. I know I'm wrong to want better written characters, but it's 2.5 hours. I keep getting stuck on that because I'm just tired of the 2.5 hour movies. Man of Steel just became a 2.5 hour episode of Dragon Ball Z. So I guess they just figured like, hey, this is the summer of anime. Why not?
I ain't laughing at that.
Ain't funny.
But at the same time, for the people who saw the trailer and said that's what I want, it gives it to you. You may have no complaints because all of it's right there. Giant robots fighting giant monsters. And for that 2.5 hours, I wasn't bored. I will say that. I might have been sitting there going, oh, good Lord, not this. Or I wish you weren't telling me exactly what's going to come up. Or, wow, you really going to pull this plot twist in the last few seconds? I really wish you wouldn't do that. But it's an entertaining movie, and it tells you what it is, and it gives you that. And for that, I give it a matinee also.
I think for me, why it worked a little bit better than it did for you guys is that I like almost the fact that it's kind of all overly familiar and that it's hitting all those things and that it really is shamelessly for 14-year-olds and for the people who remember what it's like to be 14, as you said. What I like and notice about it is that unlike a lot of other films that try to do that, it didn't constantly insult my intelligence with trying to act like it was more than that when it totally wasn't. The things about it that are dumb are things that are dumb because it's part of the nature of the genre of it, of the giant kaiju versus giant robot thing. I mean, they're dumb, but without those things, there's no movie. There's, it's like, okay, that's a given. I guess we're just going to have to accept that.
Really, Cyrus?
Yes, really, co-host.
Really. Breaking my heart.
And I also felt like the visuals were terrific. I didn't have any problem with the fights on the whole. I thought they looked wonderful throughout it. I was really, I just had fun throughout the whole thing. And even when I went, like you did, go like, God, that's like the oldest plot device in the world. I mean, and even when I go, geez, all right, we know they're going to do this, down to the stinger in the film, the post-credit stinger, which like 20 minutes beforehand is like, oh, that's going to be the stinger. And sure enough, I still had a great time all the way through. It didn't feel like 2.5 hours to me. I'm going to give it a low full price.
I'll give it that. It didn't feel like 2.5 hours.
No.
It did to me. I felt like I had been in that war. I was exhausted.
Well, I'm not going to insult anime fans. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, when everyone
that's my job.
The thing is that I've seen plenty of anime work. I've seen plenty of kaiju films work. Where you can have some stories there. Sure, they're far and few between, but where you can build up a mythology and you can build up interesting characters, interacting in a world like this. I thought, just like I thought with Hellboy and some of the, lesser, Del Toro films, I love Blade 2, but, Blade 2 and I think this movie, there's a lot of cool things to look at. There's a lot of interesting, cool looking characters. The only thing that is missing is the character part. Mm-hmm. Del Toro just seems to I don't know, he thinks that just having somebody look cool or have something look cool, it's going to be enough for the audience. And I'm saying, no, it's still not. You need to give me something to care about. You need to give me characters to care about. You have a great premise here. You could have really spread it out. The issue with this movie is that it seems like it's only there for one film, and that is it. It's a closed capsule on what you can do with this. If that's his intentions, then sure, it succeeds. But it's too bad because I think that this could have spawned into something else, something bigger. Saying that though, I did have my biggest gripe is the fights. I was there for the fights, and I didn't get the fights I really wanted to see because I got ran out. It was just too busy on the screen. And saying that really kind of depresses me. But, you know, it is a fun summer movie in every aspect of the words, the words summer film. It's fun. I wasn't bored, but I wanted more out of this. You know, if you give the audience more, give them something to chew on, they'll be coming back for these giant robot movies, these giant kaiju movies, you know, and I don't know if this is going to hit all the marks with the public. And it's one of those movies that should have done that. But not so much for me. And I love the hell out of this genre. I just wish that, you know, the possibilities are endless on what you can do with a story like this. So I'm giving it, and it hurts me to say this, I'm giving it a matinee.
It hurts to say that? That's not
it does, man. It does. I love this shit.
It felt fun.
Yeah, I love this shit.
It felt good when I said it.
I love this shit, man. I love the fuck out of it, but I don't like it to be played, you know, for laughs and just to be dumbed down.
Well, let me ask you something. This weekend they're gonna send a giant Adam Sandler to go fight a giant monster.
And I know who's winning.
You know, you ain't gonna win.
And I know who's winning, buddy.
Today we are canceling the apocalypse.
It is pretty cool.
Pacific Rim.